Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this FP&A Trends webinar, where today we'll be navigating the FP&A technology landscape and looking at key considerations and requirements. I'm pleased to let you know that we have nearly 370 people joining us from 44 countries around the world. My name is Hans Gobin. I'll be your facilitator today. I am an FP&A Trend ambassador as well. So we have great set of meeting today. Let us now look at what's on the agenda for all of us. So we will look at why should we be investing in technology. I will share with you a few key stats from our FP&A Trends survey to highlight, the key reasons. Then we will look at the key steps and considerations for FP&A technology selection. We will then go on to looking at choosing the right technology, and this is a case study at Swarovski. And then finally, we will look at what can the right technology do for you as an organization. We will do some conclusions and recommendations, and then we'll have our exciting Q&A session. It is a good time now for me to introduce my esteemed panelists. So I will ask the panelists to come and join me on the camera whilst I go through the introduction. So panelists, please turn your camera on. Our first panelist for today will be Daniel Berison, Vice President, Financial Planning and Processes at Omnicom Group, based in New York, United States, where he's joining us from. And today he will take us through key steps and consideration in FP&A technology selection. Daniel, great to have you with us today.
Great to be here, Hans. Glad to be with Ben and Michael as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for being on the panel. Our second panelist will be Michael Nudelman, who's Director Controlling, Head of Corporate FP&A at Swarovski. He's based in Zurich, Switzerland, and today he will take us through his own case study as to how he went about choosing the right FP&A technology. Michael, great to have you with us again.
Thank you, Hans, and happy to be here at this panel.
Brilliant, thank you. And finally, we will have Ben Page, who's VP Solutions Consulting at Planful, based in Illinois in the United States. And today, of course, he will share with us what can the right technology do for all of us as organizations. So Ben, great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Hans. Happy to be here.
We have three great members on the panel today, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got fantastic presentation and insight coming from them shortly. But in the meantime, I would like to ask the panelists to turn their camera off and go on mute whilst I'll do a little bit of housekeeping for everybody else. So let me very quickly introduce to you our technology partner today, which is Planful, leading FP&A software platform, 100% SaaS. So thank you very much to our technology partner for doing this. A very quick page on FP&A Trends Group. As you know, we are an international community. We've got international FP&A boards in 30 countries now, 30 cities, 16 countries and 4 continents. The last 3 at the bottom having been open this year, so expansion. We also do FP&A Insight, as you know, and FP&A Education, Research and Consulting. So please visit our website and have a good look at what else we do. So what is the webinar about? It's an hour, so please stay for the whole hour. It will go very, very quickly. Your participation is via 2 polling questions. So please, when I launch the polling question, give us your point of view. Then generally we'll get a good aggregate of how everybody else is doing as far as technology is concerned. We have a Q&A session at the end. It is interactive. You can ask questions via the chat box. You can ask now if you so wish, or wait for each presenter to have finished presenting and then direct the question to them. We have limited time today. We will answer some of them, but all of the questions will be answered, if not live, directly to you in your mailbox. The presentation is available for you to download in handout, so please do so. If you don't, you will still get a copy and the recording after the meeting. And quickly, let me remind you, after this session, when I close it, you will get a feedback pop-up. Please give us 30 seconds or so of your time. Tell us how we did, but also tell us, what else would you like to listen from us in terms of topics. So please do that. A quick introduction here. I don't have that much time. I just wanted to set the scene for today in terms of looking at what are the key challenges that FP&A is facing. I will go from right to left, so data quality, and all of these is from our FP&A survey of 2022. 2023 is going to be out mid of next month, so look out for these. So data quality, 31% say we do not have a single source of truth or data, and 34% say their data quality is poor. What about scenario? Only 6% of people can run scenarios in real time. 26% can't run it at all. 55% find it long and challenging. So there's no flexibility and adaptability. Integrated FP&A, only 16% of organizations have embraced this. Automation versus use of Excel. This is one that everybody knows. 58% of organizations still use Excel as their main planning tool. And then, of course, in terms of FP&A skill set, we are all struggling with finding the right skill set. And what people are looking for is analytical skills. So this is just a key highlight of the key challenges FP&A is facing. Now, a quick share of some stats there as to how much time does FP&A spend on low value activities? 45% of our times. So that's, you know, gathering information, data, turning it around, etc. So we only spend 33% of our time on higher value activities, whereas we would like it to be 55%. How long does it take to produce a forecast? 42% can produce a forecast in less than a week. What about those 58% who can't? Aren't the forecasts irrelevant straight away? Question for you. 39% of respondents are satisfied with their forecast. So of those who can do them, only 39% are satisfied. So why all of this? Let us very quickly look at what if you were to introduce technology in the scheme of things. So if you look at the first chart at the top here, we looked at the 33% driving actions, etc. If you introduce AI and ML, that 33% goes to 49%. Or if you don't have AI and ML, but you introduce cloud, you know, that goes by 4%. And again, if you just do driver-based planning, that goes up by 2%. So again, the reason for bringing technology. And the next chart shows you, you know, accuracies of forecasts, for example, goes up to 63% when you use AI and ML technology. What did we have before? 39%. And of course, you can read the rest in your own time. So I will leave it here, and please read this at your own leisure. And let me now introduce to you very quickly again, Daniel Berison, who will be our first presenter. And Daniel will talk to us about the key steps and considerations in FP&A technology selection. Daniel, over to you whenever you're ready.
Thanks so much, Hans. Great to be here. Hello, everyone. So my journey started way back in 1998. I was actually, if you're looking at the slides, the figurine down on the left, filled in red. I was, in 1998, I was ingrained in a totally Excel-driven process, and kind of came to the realization that there has to be a better way. And I found it fascinating, based on some of the stats that Hans just shared with us, that 58% of the respondents are still using Excel. And although Excel might be obviously a great personal productivity tool, and some enterprises can do their forecasting on an Excel-based process and Excel-based systems, again, I was surprised at the 58%. For the following reasons, you know, is it really a system? Are spreadsheet consolidations efficient? Does it really provide the data to support advanced analytics? So, you know, quite frankly, I would suggest we in the FP&A space need an efficient process, modern technology, and a strong foundation of data to build upon, to do all of the latest things like machine language, ML, AI, and some of the advanced areas that Hans spoke about earlier. As we go to the next slide, before you pick up the phone, before you come to the realization that, hey, technology is for me and could benefit, I would suggest that you do some homework and you establish kind of a basis of understanding. And there's about 8 points I'd like to talk about. The first is, know your why. What are the key challenges you would like to address at the start, and then how would you kind of address them going forward? So know your why, know your purpose, know why would you go about this, and what do you hope to accomplish? Know your data. What data are you currently interested in today? At what level do you do your analysis? How does actual data and operational data fit with any plan and forecast data that you might collect and analyze? So a good understanding of your data is critical. Know your existing processes. And this really speaks to understanding your business. And I'll speak a couple times about this, but this initiative should not be done in a vacuum. The whole business should be engaged. We might say this is a team sport. It shouldn't be done in an ivory tower. So know your existing business processes, know your drivers of the business, and how you operate and how this is going to fit in. Know your team. Know your direct team. So what role will each person play within the deployment or within the selection process, within the implementation of this new technology? But also know your team beyond the initial implementation. Know the vision, so beyond the implementation as well. Who will support it? How will you deploy it? What's going to be your process for going forward? Know the technology ecosystem. So to make this the most effective tool in the business, it's going to have to fit in, maybe with a general ledger or a data warehouse, or maybe some bespoke operational systems. So how is this piece of technology going to fit in with your existing business structure, with your existing technology ecosystem? Be realistic and know your limitations. Obviously, there could be budgetary constraints, there could be skills gaps that require some upskilling. What could be some potential roadblocks? And those potential roadblocks are probably specific to a lot of your individual industries and corporations. So be realistic, know your limitations. And then the last point really I'd like to talk about on this slide is know the process for making the final decision. Are you the decision maker? Do you have to go in front of a board or in front of executives to discuss this? But have a clear understanding of the process to get this thing started. A business case maybe. So these are basic concepts, I would suggest, but they're going to be very personal and specific to your corporation, to your business, to your industry. So that all has to happen before you pick up the phone. When you finally reach out to the software vendors, and we'll look at the next slide to start your selection process, speak to the right software vendors. There's so many different pieces of technology out there. Most of them I would suggest are time tested, they work, but make sure and really do a deep dive into what are the platforms that will best fit your organization. Now, maybe you're running an ERP and the ERP vendor has a piece of FP&A technology that fits in nicely. That's definitely an option. You might not need the biggest, baddest enterprise-wide piece of technology. If you're a smaller company, maybe something that's right-sized will fit your circumstances. So be specific when you're casting that net and starting to speak with software vendors. As important as the technology itself, understand their partner ecosystem. Do they have a strong partner network? Will those people and organizations be there to support you for the implementation and beyond? How will, also the third point, right? How will this platform grow and evolve over time? Understand that model, both internally and external. I always like to use the term caring and feeding, right? How will this thing, this piece of technology, stand the test of time, and how will you continue to nurture it? And those should be very candid conversations with both the partner ecosystem and the software vendors. As you're speaking to them, stay friendly but objective, right? You know, you're going to probably, if you know, go out to dinners, and you're going to establish relationships, and that's all very, very powerful aspects of this journey. But be objective. You know, stick to your requirements. Make sure you're assessing the software vendors and the partner ecosystem based on your specific requirements. When you have the vendors narrowed down, maybe you know you're focusing on one or two, possibly three, but host a bake-off. You should want to see your requirements prototyped and demonstrated. And if it's more than one vendor you're talking to, you should be comparing and contrasting. Again, looking for that best fit. Talk to their client references, ask questions. Chances are the client references are all going to tell you, everything is great and it's the best piece of technology on the planet. But ask some probing questions, and as important, also establish relationships with these people, because we are global FP&A practitioners, and we should foster a strong network. Involve your eventual end users, and that really speaks to the kind of what I've been saying throughout the presentation here. Engage people throughout the business. Make sure your end users are part of the process, seek feedback, and gain their buy-in throughout. Negotiate the deal that's right for you. The software vendor might want to sell you 1,000 seats right off the bat. Maybe you want to do that. I don't know. It could be a decision you take on, but you don't have to. You might want to start small and grow into it. So negotiate the deal that's right for you. Don't be wooed into high volume discounts or special teasers when that might not be the best thing. As we wrap it up on the next slide with some key considerations, do the homework up front. That's probably the most important, I would suggest. Practice good change management for this initiative and for always. It's just good business practice. Understand what good change management really means. Have a realistic deployment strategy. They say don't boil the ocean. Don't boil the ocean. It's okay to go in manageable chunks. And the common theme, the most important, really, go ultra high touch with the business during the deployment and beyond. Don't let your end users struggle. Work with them. Make this the piece of technology that really drives the business and provides insight. Given we're all FP&A practitioners, this is what we do and love. I would suggest that you enjoy the journey, continue to seek and learn, grow, and nurture the platform. So I hope this was helpful. Again, engage the business, enjoy the journey. And if we could bring it back, Hans.
Thank you, Daniel. Great presentation. Of course, all the tips and tricks are just fantastic here. I mean, I cannot sum it up because there's so many excellent trips here. The one thing that resonates with me is the lack of prototyping and testing in those sort of stages where you even thinking, because vendors are willing to do this. So this is one of the great things that people must do and make sure that they do. So Daniel, thank you very much. Let us now very quickly look at whatever audiences are doing in terms of modern collaborative technology. So ladies and gentlemen, I've just launched the polling question. Do you currently use modern collaborative technology for FP&A? Yes, we do. No, we do not, but we plan to implement in the next 12 months, in the next 2 years. And then finally, no, we do not, but we do not plan to implement at all. If you can vote, please, very quickly, that would be great. I'll give it another 10 seconds. Do you currently use modern collaborative technology for FP&A? Yes, we do. No, we do not, but plan to implement in the next 12 months, in the next 2 years. And finally, no, we don't and do not have any plans to implement. So I'm now going to close the poll and share the outcome with everybody else. So 46% say yes, we do, which is fantastic. 26% no, we do not, but plan to implement shortly. 10% plan to implement within 2 years, and 19% no, we do not have any plans whatsoever. Daniel, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, I think that the polling plays out with the statistics that FP&A Trends captured. Seeing 46% is absolutely awesome. To the 26% that are going to start the journey within the next 12 months, again, I think that's great that they're going to embrace this modern technology. For those in the 10% and 19% category, respectively, my suggestion would be start your exploration. Start learning. That first slide when I talked about before you pick up the phone, start the understanding. It doesn't cost you anything. Gain a good understanding of your business, and possibly you'll start your journey a little bit sooner once you see all the benefits that are possible from rolling out some advanced technology here. But very, very insightful results, Hans. Thank you very much.
Absolutely right there, Daniel. We've got a lot of opportunities, and hopefully after this meeting today, a lot of people who are not in that sort of banner will start to kind of think and consider, investing into that technology, or at least taking the business case to their management team. So now here we've got a question from Daniel to the other panelists. So can I invite Ben and Michael to come and join us? And Daniel, of course, has gone through all of this, and what he would like to know is what were the top roadblocks in the implementation that Michael and Ben have gone through before. So Michael, can I ask you for a quick answer here, please?
Yes, I mean, for us, it's definitely the overloading of requirements to make sure that we are still in a manageable space and we can work towards this one, it's a minimal viable product, I would say, but the minimal viable product became a monster. So that was definitely the first challenge to overcome.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Of course, start small is one of the key themes that comes out of implementation. So thank you, Michael. And Ben, your answer, please.
Yeah, I think what we see is the word here that's so valuable is successful. And so at the end of the day, the way you're going to be graded is the adoption of the platform. So you can go through the activities to implement, but if you've not really done it in a way that your end users really enjoy and are willing to use, and you don't have strong adoption, then just having the technology doesn't necessarily solve that problem for you. So I'd say focus on, and I think Daniel said it well, talk to your end users, talk to the organization, find out what's going to work best for all of them so that you have that very strong adoption.
Absolutely, spot on there. And any closing comment from you, Daniel, before we move on to the next session?
No, I love the responses because they so speak to my own experience as my journey has continued. When we said, don't boil the ocean, manageable chunks, engage the business, keys to success, I would suggest. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So thank you all for the insight, and let us now move on to our next session, which is from Michael. So I will ask the other panelists to turn their camera off, and mine too, of course. So Michael, whenever you're ready, please take it away.
Thank you. And yes, I would like to start with a quick introduction of Swarovski. So as we need to understand a bit the case. So Swarovski is a company consisting out of 3 holdings. We have Turolite, who is a leading producer of grinding technology. We have the Swarovski optics, which is a bit more known probably to the public, producing binoculars and riflescopes. And there is the main group that is called Swarovski Crystal Business, and that's the one we will be talking about today. Is about 2 billion turnover business, present almost in every country of the world. And let's understand it a bit better on the next slide, that how we approach this FP&A technology selection. So we started all about with the fact we need to define we need to define some strategic guardrails. We need to define some pillars on which we will build our technology selection. And we came up with 4 main pillars. Pillar 1 was the efficiency and effectiveness gains. So whenever we will be choosing an FP&A technology, it needs to contribute with efficiency and effectiveness gains towards our process. Second, it's about our vision, the vision of integrated business planning, into which we very much believe. So we believe that it's not about selecting just a financial planning application, it's about selection a platform that will support our journey towards integrated business planning. Third is about the minimization of IT tools and in general vendors, which is partially a cost aspect and also a management aspect. And fourth is the ability to meet the development timelines. And it's for us critical in 2 aspects, because on one hand side, it's about how quick can we do the initial project, but it's also extremely important what is the time to market when it comes to adaptations in the process. And we know in FP&A it's a constant journey, so we will constantly need to adapt the platform. Looking into it a bit more into details on the next slide, we will understand the whole stack around this FP&A technology. If I start from the bottom, we have a data lake layer, which is sourcing all the data. That goes into the data science layer, where we're producing machine learning forecasts or other AI-based, let's say, products that are then leading into this FP&A core area. This is where the financial planning application is the mainstream in that layer. And finally resulting in the last reporting layer, where the financial planning or FP&A technology has also a stack to play in it, because of course there is reporting required, but there is also the mainstream reporting tool needed for top management reporting, dashboarding, self-service. So that's the overall ecosystem we need to connect to. And on the next slide, we will see this one-stop shop for FP&A. So we defined our requirements for this FP&A technology to be this a modern single point of access platform where the planner will find all it needs. And here we of course have the data logics. We have all about integration with trends and predictive models built on the analytical layer. We can submit, let's say, business assumptions from all different aspects, and all that should be supported by workflows and finally result in reports and make it all an efficient place to work with, all in one place. So on the next slide, we will really see the criteria which supported us selecting this technology. So coming from the 4 strategic pillars, we identified 5 main criteria to select the technology. So the first one and the second one are part of the same equation, where we say quality times acceptance is excellence, and quality we define as user functionality and acceptance as user friendliness. So these 2 are the make it or break it aspects of the technology. Then as a third one is the architectural fit. This is all about interconnection between other technologies that we have already in-house, with, as you saw, the part of the overall stack. And then it's about the vision. So do we go towards the same vision as the vendor? Does the vendor has same understanding of the future development? And last but not least, of course, the cost aspect is as important. So all that comes together with the weighting to a total score, and based on that score, we have been then finally selecting our FP&A technology. So let's better understand each of these pillars. So what is this user functionality? For us, this was about workflows, planning functions, calculation engine capabilities, integrated planning features, right? A user friendliness we assessed based on performance, so it's nothing worse than doing a click and then waiting for ages to see something happening, and of course the easy to use. Architectural fit is about ERP and data warehouse integration, as mentioned, and the vision is about the focus towards the CFO area as a service, is the ability to work with very high data volumes, also be able to or offer solutions in the non-financial area, and finally, very important, we have been after a flagship product of the vendor and a product that is mature and for many years on the market. And last but not least, the cost aspect is driven by the license fees, and of course the cost of development. So coming to the lessons learned, change management is key. This is a crucial aspect. We are very convinced about that one. It forms about 80% of the overall effort in our whole project. So it was not the build-up of the platform or the development of the models or anything else. It was really about making sure that all our stakeholders are with us on the journey. Second, it is not about pleasing everyone. So we need to be clear of what is it that we are targeting, what is our vision, and what is the product that we actually want to deliver. Not every stakeholder will be able to have a say on that. Third, be flexible. There are many ways to lead that are leading to Rome, meaning there are really always solutions for every problem. And even if in case we might think that we are stuck and there is an issue not to be overcome, there is always a way, and being it a way of adapting a process or a technology, technical solution or any other. So be sure that you will overcome it. And last but not least, start small and grow. We say think 2-3 years ahead, because you're introducing a technology that will be staying for 10 years probably, or even more. And with that, you need to have a clear view on how you will want to grow and work with that in the coming years. And with that, I would conclude on my presentation.
Michael, thank you very much. Great presentation. So many tips. But what I love most is that mathematical formula of the 5 pillars that you share with us as to how you went about choosing that FP&A tool. So thank you very much for that. That is very insightful indeed. Let us now quickly look at the next polling question and ask how our audiences are doing. So what is the key factor to further advance the technical journey in finance? So what is it stopping you, or what would you like more of? Is it resources? Is it more leadership support? Is it skills and competencies in finance? Or is it business partners buying? So what are those barriers, or where would you like more support to further that technical journey? Is it with resources? Is it with leadership support? Is it with skills and competencies in finance? Or is it with partners buying? So ladies and gentlemen, please vote. I'll give it another 10 seconds before I close it. So what are those key factors to enhance that journey? I'm now going to close the poll, and I'm now going to share the results. So 27% says resources is the issue. 34 says leadership support, 27 skills, and then 13% partners buy-in. Michael, what are your thoughts on the outcome here?
Yes, it's well distributed, but I do think that this leadership support resonates with many. It is so crucial, and this was also in our project, to make sure that the CFO is fully buying into the vision and is driving this change top down. So I think this is actually one of the make it or break it aspects. So I couldn't agree to that more. And on the resources side, yes, and skills and competences that are scoring equally, yes, that's a challenge right now, I think, especially in the times where resources are a very scarce topic.
Absolutely spot on. And you've talked about change management and everything else as well. You know, it's that leadership support that can drive everything else. Resources is high, but of course, you know, if you start small, the resources don't have to be major as well. So thank you very much for that, Michael. Let us now go to our discussion question, where I would like to ask the other panelists to join us as well. And the question here from Michael to the others are, in your experience, is FP&A technology built once and then maintained? So go big bang, build something really big and then maintain it over the years? Or is it rather constantly evolving? So start small and build on it. So Daniel, what would your advice be on this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a constant evolution. You know, and I spoke about it earlier, the concept of manageable chunks and knowing your requirements and phasing them out over time, but then also requirements change over time, business changes over time, and your FP&A technology, all your technology should evolve with the business. I so loved the way Michael articulated this piece of technology should be around for 10, 12, 15 years maybe. It should constantly evolve. So not a big bang, definitely an evolution.
Thank you very much. And Ben, what is your experience with this? Of course, you're coming from the software world.
Yeah, I think the most successful customers that we have are the ones who take that evolutionary approach to it, because just like Daniel mentioned, business changes. And I think the other part to consider is, like, especially in the world of SaaS that we're living in, there's updates every single month, quarters, whatever. And if you just do it once and then live with it, you're going to miss out on a ton of features. So think about it from, how do you optimize your experience? If you don't know how the platform really works, that will force you to kind of consider some of your process. So there is this dance, it's this little chicken and egg of what goes first. And I think the best approach, most successful approach, move in little pieces. As I often say, if you're going to fail small, and then take advantage of new technology that these vendors provide as part of a SaaS business solution.
A great point there. Great point. Thank you both very much for that. And Michael, thank you for a great presentation. Before we move on to the next session, I'd just like to remind the audience, if they want to keep sending their questions, please do so via the chat box. We've got an exciting Q&A session coming after Ben's presentation. We will answer some of the questions. The rest will be answered to you via email. So please keep sending them. And thank you for voting on those 2 questions as well. So now let us move on to Ben's presentation. So the other panelists, if you can please switch off your webcam and go on mute. So the next presentation on what can the right technology do for us is from Ben. Ben, over to you whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thanks, Hans. And you know, I'm going to approach this a little bit of a different way than maybe what you're thinking. I am a finance practitioner, spent 15 years as a planning manager in a number of different roles. And so what I'm thinking about is, what's a day in a life for all of you look like? And it's not just technology. It is a combination of both. Some of the things that technology is going to bring to the table for you, it's removing friction from your processes, right? All the manual things that you have to do today. For all of those who said that they're still using Excel, think about adding new data, adding a new business, doing all the things that are just challenging to do before you even get to running the business. We want to be able to give you the ability to shorten down your processes, right? Be able to react to the industry or to the market. I mean, just think about the last couple of years and all that we've been through, economy-wise, COVID, pandemic, and those all of a sudden made a lot of organizations realize the best way to do this is be very nimble. And so we want to make sure that you're very nimble. We want to make sure that you can react quickly. We want to make sure that you can look at a lot of different options. So you'll hear scenario planning as an example. I just think of different versions. What happens if the interest rates go up to a certain level? What happens if they slow down? What happens if production for manufacturing organizations slows or accelerates? Those are all things that you're going to want to have the ability to work with. And at the end of the day, time is a real cost to all organizations. So we always talk about the late nights and weekends and so forth, but think about it from a value perspective to your business, the ability to navigate all these changing waters that are going on. On the next slide, what I'd really like to talk about is some of the things that you may not be able to do today, or you're thinking about doing, or if you are doing, they're probably harder to do. So things like rolling forecasts, again, speed to make decisions, speed to address changes. And kind of coinciding with that is the scenario planning, good, better, best. And then what's my 5-year plan versus what's a 6-month forecast versus maybe an 18-month rolling outlook of my business. Some of the things that are really kind of hot topics today, AI and ML. So I don't necessarily claim that I'd say ChatGPT is the answer to running a finance department. I think there's still a lot of fear there, and we got to figure out the security around all that stuff, but there's certainly the ability to let machine learning and let some of the AI help you do your job more efficiently, get you into more of the analysis side of it. Do pro formas, right? Again, smaller looks of your business, higher level looks of your business. Assimilate mergers and acquisitions is probably one of the hardest things we hear from customers is I just made an acquisition. What do I do? Do I have to go put them into my ERP? Well, with a lot of the newer technology that sits on top of those different systems, you have the ability to assimilate those into your data set for that one version of truth, even if you don't sit down and say you're going to move into your new ERP. Look, at the end of the day, it really comes down to being nimble and being able to look at your business, being able to look at business changes, being able to look at business challenges. And so technology is going to bring a lot of this to your fingertips. And I'm going to show you a few examples here. So if we can go to the next slide, what we'll do is just really start talking about that one version of truth. Now, what I recognize is everybody kind of talks about KPIs and everybody likes the visualization, but I think what's really important for everyone to understand is everybody learns different and everybody consumes data different. I'm very visual. I like to start here and then find out where I'm going to isolate my analysis and dig into that. Some people just want the massive spreadsheet of data and they want to kind of look for the number that kind of sticks out to them. Both of those audiences should be treated based on the things that how they like to consume that information. So we like to meet them where they want to work. So you'll notice things like financial metrics, but also visualization. And this also should be able to support things that are financial and non-financial in nature. So I think it was Daniel who said it earlier. We say it every single day. Planning is a team sport. You cannot do it yourself. You have to have input from others. And so this is a way where we can get others who maybe aren't as financially educated as what we are and be able to increase their financial knowledge. So just a really nice way to show that visualization, it's not just about the pretty pictures, it's about the fact that people learn in different ways. On the next slide, pardon me, it's also important that we think about some of the really complex and bespoke processes that your organization may have. So in this case, maybe it's a 15-week rolling cash flow, direct or indirect, depending on what continent you're on. Your kind of the focus is a little bit different. But you need to have something that's going to have that, some of the things that Michael was talking about. It's got to be robust. It's got to have performance. It's got to be flexible. And it's got to meet your most challenging needs. Now, again, even if you don't do big bang and do that day one, you'd love to know that you can grow into that at some point in time. And so combining, again, bringing in visual data, the analytic numbers, and then making sure that folks can get this to the lowest levels. So in this case, subledgers of payables and receivables, being able to model out when am I going to run low on my cash? When do I have to kick in a revolver? So those are the things you're really going to want to know is, do you have the thing that's going to scale with you? So that's going to be really important. And then the next slide that I'll show you is really kind of the hot topic of AI and ML. The way we think about it is kind of two sides of the coin. The accountant in me says, man, I'd love to have technology that helps me find anomalies, whether that's an invoice being keyed wrong or some journal entry that didn't actually get recorded and it needs to. So from a technology standpoint, really helping me identify things that I could otherwise maybe not find. I always say it's the 1,000 set of eyes. We can't hire enough people to go look at all the data, but the machines will be able to do this for us. The other side is then taking that knowledge, taking that education, and then using it to project out the future. So it's really becoming a hot topic. You'll see it in a lot of the different vendors and in the marketplace. It's only going to grow. It's probably one of the fastest growing areas in technology today. And if we head off to the next slide here, what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about overall, what does this mean to you? So look, at the end of the day, we're here to make you highly successful. We're here to help your organizations. And you got to think about this from maybe a little bit of a less traditional way. If you don't have technology, at some point you will run into the inability to move with the business. So you're not going to be able to execute. You have an idea, but you can't execute it because the things you do are too manual. It's really difficult. It's complex to do that scenario planning or just look at different situations if you don't have technology that will easily pivot with you. So, again, good, better, best. How can you do that in an Excel model when you're sending that out to folks? You're not going to have a very easy time asking them to go do 3 or 4 different versions. Still tie that into driver-based planning, still drive that into some of the things that Michael and Daniel were talking about. You're going to have technology to get you there. And I think the thing that people maybe don't think about is if you're not doing it, your competitor is. And so what happens when you fall behind and they can pivot to the changing environments much quicker than you can? Oftentimes, first one there wins. So it's not just about the technology, it's not just about the work you're doing, but it's from a competitive standpoint. How do you stay most competitive in your particular industry? And then what I often think about is, let's think about the people who are sitting there and doing this work day in and day out. The common theme we hear from them is, I work a lot of nights, I work on weekends. Had one person tell me, I don't even know what Black Friday here in the United States is, because the Friday after Thanksgiving, I always had to be working. And so I think about it as a quality of life, quality of existence, and making sure that you've got very happy people, keep them on board. Don't lose folks because the challenges that you see in Excel. So it's not just the individual technology, it really is the overall organizational impact. Thinking about some of the folks that you work with day in and day out, and you'd like working with them, you want to keep them on board. So from a retention standpoint, something like a technology platform can help make their lives a little bit better. Therefore, you're going to keep that high level, that quality employee. So Hans, I'll hand that back to you, and look forward to any questions anyone would have for that as well.
Ben, fantastic presentation. Thank you for taking us through the importance of technology, but also what it can do for our organization. I've got lots of questions coming through already, but I'd just like to remind people, please keep sending your questions. We will answer some today. The rest we can't answer, we will go and answer via email to you over the next couple of days. So Ben, thank you again very much for that. Let us now go and look at the question you have for the other panelists. So if I can ask the other panelists to come and join us, please, that will be great. And the question is, what is the largest unexpected benefit you receive from using technology? Daniel, if I can come to you for an answer there first.
Yeah, that's a tough one because there are so many benefits, and quite frankly, a lot of them have been unexpected. One that really comes to mind, especially hearing Michael and Ben's presentation, is the engagement and the adoption of the business. When we do these types of things for the business and the business themselves benefit from it, they want more, they embrace it, they want to keep going with this because, and Ben closed his presentation out with the perfect comment, it makes people's lives easier. They get out of the office, they're not stuck in process mess, and the business benefits from it because they're gaining more insight. And I think when I was doing my first deployment, I knew that was going to happen, but not to the scale that it has, and the way the technology has been embraced by the business.
Spot on there, Daniel. Somebody once said to me after the implementation, one of the staff came to them and said, "Thank you for giving me my summer back." So that's one great example there. So absolutely brilliant. Let us go to Michael now. Michael, what will your comment be on this?
Yes, we can also connect to that. I think it is that what is unexpected is the constant demand for more. Because definitely we can connect to that, and as part of that, it's I think we see the kind of the more, or let's say the better it works, and the more it really targets the concrete need, the more it creates new demand, and the more it gets spread around and people talk about it. So yeah, that's definitely unexpected.
Yeah, no, and it's great for adoption of new technologies as well, which is fantastic, because sometimes it is one of the biggest barriers of doing the whole implementation. Ben, any wrapping comments from you on this before we move on to our next session?
Yeah, I just think it's fantastic commentary. I think the thing that is really interesting is when you see that it actually will help individuals. It'll help accelerate their careers. It'll get them into a much more value-added member, less of the bean counter. And now you, like Michael said, they just keep coming back to you. They can't live without you. And it's just a different experience for a lot of finance professionals at that point. So.
Yeah, no, excellent insight, and thank you for presenting this question and insight from the other panelists. So let us now move on to our key takeaways, where we will do a very quick conclusion sort of session. And here, what I'll go around the house and starting with Daniel. Daniel, what is that one point you would like to leave the audience with tonight in terms of technology?
Yeah, I think it's one and maybe two. It's definitely have a clear vision of the implementation. How would you expect it to unfold? And especially a clear vision beyond the implementation, as we spoke about, year 1, year 2, year 3, and a vision with flexibility. The other thing I would just sneak in real quick, and we all said it is a team sport, Ben, stealing your line, I think. It is a team sport. Engage the business. It helps a business get their buy-in and then just live and grow with it into the future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Can we move very quickly to Michael? Michael, yours?
Yes, connecting to what Daniel said, change management is key. So engaging with all different stakeholders, being it the planners, being it the people receiving the information, top management, change management, making sure that everyone is in the same boat and we are moving on that journey together. That's key, and that's also what is in the end driving this successful implementation and drives then the tipping point is reached, and then they want more.
Yeah, and absolutely, we talked about adoption before, so thank you for adding on to that. And finally, going back to Ben. Ben, what will yours be?
I think if you're going to make an investment like this, and whether that's financial investment, the managerial investment, the people time investment, to really optimize, consider the fact that to truly optimize, you do need to take a look at your process. So it's chicken and egg. You can't do one, you can't do the other to be truly optimized. Take a step back, take a look at your process, take a look at the technology. And one of the gentlemen said, make sure it's the right fit. It's got to be the right fit for you. And you'll make a decision. It'll change your lives and probably improve your day-to-day lives greatly. So
brilliant. Thank you all three very much for your conclusion there. We will now move into the Q&A session. We've got lots of questions, so please keep sending them. We've still got 5 or so minutes to go, but we will take 1 or 2 questions today. The first question goes to Daniel. Daniel, how important has it been for you in selecting technology vendor, their ability and disposition to customize the solution? So I think what the question is saying, customization, is that something that you are for it, or how did you deal about it?
Great question. Thank you for whoever sent that in. Consistent customization. So obviously, you know, these tools come to you in a standard configuration, and they do need to be, and I'll use air quotes, right, customized to meet your specific business, to meet your specific industry, to meet your specific requirements. So there is customization, absolutely. The key is consistent customization. So customize across an organization, across your whole company. Where I have gotten myself in jail, quite frankly, where I've got myself tied up in knots, is this department wants one type of customization. The other department wants another customization. You know, the everyone's special concept, I would try to avoid that type of customization. Consistent customization that makes sense for your business or for the broader organization makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. So really here, what we're talking about is standardization, customization, standardization across borders or whatever, where everything looks the same. So a great point there, Daniel. Thank you very much. Let us go to Michael now. Michael, thank you for taking us through that evaluation criteria. Very useful, people thought. One surprise element that came out was that only 20% was weighted towards cost. Can you explain a little bit more? Maybe we misunderstood your message there.
Yes, thanks for the question. Very good question among the finance professionals. I recognize the audience. Yes, I mean, obviously it is an important pillar, the cost aspect. And I mean, every company needs to have a clear understanding of what kind of costs it is willing to engage with. But it is also about the other, let's say, pillars that will finally define if your overall project will be a success or not. And the cost aspect cannot drive it, as you will be investing into something that you will have to, in the end, might be even a failure, and the whole investment will be gone. So I do think that it requires a very balanced approach to it. So you need to know what's your budget, but you also need to be clear that this budget needs to lead to a success. If not, maybe you don't engage.
Great point there. Absolutely. You know, if you're not going to get what you wanted and you've got a really small budget, then what's the point? So thank you very much for that, Michael. And if we now go to our final question, apologies, we only have time for one final question, and that is to Ben. And Ben, this is after having gone through, you know, your presentation. This question came about. You can still automate things in Excel using Power BI, for example. Is there anything else you would recommend instead? I mean, you know, what are the downfalls of Excel? I mean, we've seen through all of that. What your advice is there?
Rather than me just saying it, go Google Excel errors for business. And generally, when you make the mistake, it is so monumentally large, it's a career limiting thing that you could go through life and never have a problem. But what if you're that business who didn't catch the error? So it's not secure, it's not scalable, it doesn't have OLAP. I mean, I'm an Excel guy through and through. I would prefer to go do reporting in an OLAP database than Excel every single day of the week. And so I just think it's, you know, there's degrees of, can you do certain things? Yeah, we work with a lot of customers who say, I'm going to keep these things over here in Excel, but fundamentally we want the one version of truth. And so it's not an easy answer because it really is an individual thing. But I do think what we see with businesses is there's no situation where Excel can out efficiency a technology platform.
And I think, Ben, you had that one slide on your presentation that actually showed AI, ML, scenario planning, and all. None of these things you can do with Excel. Yes, you can do it. It takes forever. You've got to control the version. You can't collaborate with those tools, etc. So none of this will be able to happen. But also, let's think back to, you know, COVID period when so many businesses went bankrupt because of not having collaborative technology where they could all work together from different parts of the world and everywhere else. So I have one last question I'd like to put to the panel here, and this is about AI. And the question is, my first question that came, I know we're going to overrun a little bit, but I thought it's worth just throwing that to the panel. Do you think FP&A will be made redundant due to advancement in AI? Very quick question from answer from each one of you. Daniel.
Absolutely not. I think AI is a wonderful complement to the work that we do, but there still needs to be the people and the process, the understanding of the data, the curating of the data. I could go on and on and on. I know we're short for time, but AI and what we do are going to be perfect together, and it's an accelerator. It's an accelerator.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Michael, quick answer.
As you know, I'm a believer into that technology. So to my view, it will make our job way more interesting because a lot of automation is to come and our job will be way more on business decision making, driving the right decisions.
Absolutely. And finally, Ben.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What it's going to do is it's going to shorten the time to find the things that we went to school to go learn how to do, which is run a business. It's never going to run the business for us. It'll just help us get indicators for us to use our intelligence and knowledge and run the businesses.
Yeah, and this is where human intelligence and human analytics, it's much more important these days compared to before. So absolutely spot on, all three of you. And thank you very much for answering those questions. If you'd like to just stay on the camera, we've got a few closing slides. So we've got 2 webinars for you, June the 28th on change management and 12th of July on trends and development, so our new survey. So please put that in the diary for you. And let me just remind you, we've got this FP&A maturity model where you can actually go and interact with it on our website, map where your organization is now in all those 6 different swim lane, etc. So please give it a try. And now it is a great time for me to say thank you, a big, massive thank you to Ben, Daniel, and Michael for putting together such a great presentation, their insight for answering those questions. So panelists, absolute great thank you to you. Thank you very much to our audience for making the time today and to be present. Hope this has been very helpful to you. And finally, thank you to Planful for being our technology partner and sponsoring this event. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how you can keep in touch with us. So please do. Just before I close the meeting now, let me remind you there's a pop-up session coming up shortly. As soon as I close it, please give us your feedback, tell us how we did, but also tell us any topic you would like to listen in the future. This is the end of our webinar, so thank you very much for spending the time with us today. Hopefully it's been as fantastic to you as it's been for us. So thank you very much. Good morning, good night, and good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.